Hey everybody, welcome back. Today is a backstage tour day. I thought that I would show you the backstage tour of Antigone. Now this is the third Greek tragedy that I've ever designed, but this one has some really interesting features, and so I'm going to walk you through. We're going to take a look at how we do the Greek columns, how we do these interesting kind of Greco-Roman doorways, and then not only that, but we do have a pool. So I want to show you basically how all this stuff was put together.
This is a creative idea share that you can watch from there to help you be aware. You can even watch it in your underwear. A creative idea share.
Okay, so one of the first things that you notice when you enter the theater is you see this palace, but it's got this interesting drip pool in it. The audience walks in and they see this pool, and there are Grecian urns sitting on these stepping stones. And it's a leaky palace. It's an old leaky temple or something, and water is leaking in from the ceiling. And so there's lots of drips. So we made a drip pool. Now, what this is we basically just took pond lining and we found these stepping stones too. So here at Bethany, it just so happened that our landscaping guy had some of these pavers, I guess you'd call them, and they are perfect. I went down the hill to where he is, and there were 2 pallets full of these rocks. These are just limestone, and they're perfect. Our director wanted a pool. She wanted something that was like earth and water. You know, she wanted, the elements were very important to her. And so we have about 2.5 inches of water here. And this is just a pond liner. So we ordered from Amazon a pond liner, and then we put that in, and then we took some landscaping rock and then just sort of bordered 3 sides of it, the sides that the audience sees, and that comprised our pool. Oh, and under this liner, and by the way, I do have a double layer of this liner. So here is a little bit more liner. I had some excess, and I thought, well, if I'm putting these rocks down on the liner, the last thing you want is a big leak into your basement. And so I doubled the thickness where I put rocks. Underneath the liner, we have another layer of defense, and that is just some really thick, I don't remember how many mil plastic sheeting under this too. So we kind of did double duty, just because water is unpredictable. Water does whatever it wants, and we don't want this leaking into our pit area, into our basement. And so we have to be really careful that students and I and nobody else walks over this one with any sharp tools. So we don't have any screwdrivers, and we make sure that there are no utility knives or anything like that. We do have to chlorinate it, so we do have to put in those bromine tablets. And the way I do that is I just we have a 5-gallon pail, and I mix those tablets in a pail, and then I strain them, and then we pour them in. And then otherwise, we just take a hose and we fill this thing. Since this is a small pool and only about 2 inches of water, we just use tap water. We just fill it with tap water. We chlorinate it. I'll chlorinate it again for the second weekend. And you have to be careful about that, because our costumes get in this, and you don't want to bleach the costumes. So you have to kind of find the right ratio. But I really love this. There are some characters who walk right through the water, and then there are others who just step across the stones. So it's a neat effect. So this is our second time attempting a pool. This is a much easier one. But for a Greek tragedy, it really does lend itself very interestingly to the story of Antigone, and kind of an interesting idea for a Greek tragedy in general. So, drip pool. So I may as well demonstrate how the drips work in the pool. Here I am in the paint room. We've got our sink here, and I have basically just a regulator, a splitter here too. So my assistant stage manager comes on, turns the water on, and we just have him turn it on full blast. And if we need to purge the hose that's going above the stage, we can just do this. But that's how we turn it on. Then that goes up this hose right here, across all the paints, out the door, and then up into the catwalks. But let's go out on stage and we can see if this thing actually is dripping. It sometimes takes a few minutes. Okay, so here you see, we do have now drips. And they are coming from a single hose, which we have zip tied to one of our bars, one of our travelers, or one of our battens up there, our line set batten. And then we have 1/4-inch hose coming off of little drip emitters. I'll show you those in a sec. But what a neat effect, you know, and we didn't want too many more drips than this, because then it started getting really loud and you start to have a difficulty hearing the actors. Drippers. You can find these at your home store. This one drips 5 gallons an hour, so these ones come out pretty fast. These are the ones we actually used, and I'll show you this a little bit more close up, but this is 0.5 gallons an hour. But basically, it just drips water onto your plants. This one's fast. This is like 5 or 2 gallons an hour, and there's 5 gallons an hour. But let's take a look at one of these things. What these are, and I think we did it in a way that is a little bit unconventional, but you take this, and this point gets stuck into your hose. So we just have a plain old garden hose up there. You take a little tool and you puncture your hose. And then you stick this little barbed end into the hose, and then it drips out this little side. So I think we've got about, and these are we just used the 0.5 gallons an hour drippers, and that gave us these things. So let's go upstairs. I'll show you those things, and you can see how we're dripping water into the pool. Okay, so here we are above the set. You can see there's the pool down there, and over here on this line set is our hose, and you can see it dripping right there. Okay, so right here is the line set that has the hose to it. We just took a plain old garden hose and zip tied it right to the line set here. You can see our hose right here, and we've just zip tied it to this line set bar that we've got. And then we've got drip emitters. I got one here, there's one here. Now I want you to notice too that this one is just dripping of its own accord. I mean, there's nothing connected to it. But and then on other ones of these, we can divert the water by taking, basically it's like 1/4-inch PEX tube, and then we can put this through the catwalks here. So let me show you here, like this. This is just a cheap garden hose that we just bought. We blocked off the end. The end there is just has a stopper on it, and this one's dripping straight out, and this one has PEX tubing that is helping us to divert the water wherever we want. Same thing with this one. So this one has PEX tubing, which then goes over here through the catwalk. This way, we don't just get a straight line of drips. We can have them dripping kind of in a pattern that looks a little bit more random. And then we've actually taken some of that PEX tubing and put it in front of our grand drape too, so that we can actually have some dripping more out towards the audience too. When you're trying stuff that you haven't seen before, there's always that doubt, can we do this? And I am just trying to give you a little bit of encouragement that this is very doable. You can get drips going where you want them to go. You can miss the important lighting instruments that you don't want to get wet. And it's not anywhere near as complex as a rain curtain or anything like that. And audiences dig this. They really, really do like when they enter the theater and there's a surprise. It makes the room smell interesting. I mean, it's you can almost taste the air. So there's something very, I don't know, organic about this when you walk into the theater and you've got this whole drip line going. So anyways, I wanted to give you guys a little bit more information on how to make a drip pool and how to get drips dripping into it. So the way we do the Greek columns are by using sonotube, and that is those big giant concrete forms, and these are big ones. So these are 16 feet long and they are 16 inches in diameter. And the great thing is we use these again and again. So it's kind of like they're cardboard, but they're better than cardboard. But basically these are the things that make big giant concrete columns like in parking garages or anything like that too. It's maybe hard to find, and we had to drive a distance to get these. We had to take a trailer to Savage, Minnesota in order to pick these things up. We got them like 20 years ago, no lie. They are just one of the most useful things in our theater department as far as scenery devices. We've used these for so many different plays, and what we've done is, okay, in sonotubes you get these ribs, you know, you get the things that look kind of spirally. So you have to be careful how you light them. But there are many different ways to dress them up. And so we actually have taken muslin, that's just a very common theater fabric, and we've wrapped these in muslin. And then we've coated it with things like joint compound and flex glue, or you could use a sculptor coat coating or Roscoe Flex. There's different kinds of products out there. I'm probably misnaming them too. You can just coat these things and try to take away, and it does diminish the weird spiral ribbing that's on these sonotubes. But since they're 16 feet tall, a lot of people have been asking, how do you support these things? Because we don't have them wired, they're not being hung by the catwalks or anything like that. So these are going into the platforming. So really what's showing here is about 13.5 feet of column. The other 2.5 feet are going through the platform. So basically we've cut a circle into this platform that I'm on, and then we insert these big giant column tubes, and then we build up the bases. I think one fun thing that adds a little bit of interest, if we want this to look like a ruin, what we did is we did cut one of these columns off. It was a little heartbreaking to do that because, like I say, these have been so useful in our department. But then you get this cool ruin. And so this is the top of that column, makes it look like this thing tipped over. We've got one column roped to another, making it look like it's there for stability. And then here's this big giant capital that fell off and is now, just a really interesting interest piece, I guess, right here on the stage too. So that's how we handle the columns. Oh, and you can paint them to look like whatever you want. So these were painted marble, and then we aged them with like soot, like there was a fire. What ruined this place? I don't know. Let's leave that up to the audience's imagination. And so we get this kind of cool weathered marble column sort of look. Okay, so we fully recognize that our bases and the tops of our capitals are not Greek architecture, but we made these out of concentric circles with MDF. We basically made a circle jig with a router and then put concentric circles together to make this stack. And that was a way for us to be able to mass produce them quickly. And then we painted it all marbly and then aged it too. So just black paint out of a spray gun gives you kind of this like, what happened here? What ruined this place? And was there a fire? Was there a battle? That kind of stuff. So here's the back view. And there you can see the sonotube just going right through the platforming. And again, the top is just made out of MDF. and then MDF on the top here too. And then we just faced it with Luan, like that's Luan, MDF, MDF, sonotube. Since we do have one column that is leaning down, I should give a little bit of attention to this feature. And this is basically, we made a base for one of our columns that is just broken up. And again, too, it's painted like it had fire on the bottom. But honestly, we made an extra one of these. This is MDF. You can sort of see that it's MDF. And then we just threw rocks in there, you know, broke it up. And then we, Phil, my scene shop supervisor, created this really weirdly interesting, you know, I think some of these were just some found shapes that we had from scraps in the shop. And he made this broken up base, and I really, really love it. And then he broke the base, and then we just threw some rocks in there. And so it just sort of creates the crazy illusion that this whole thing really did break and tip. Doesn't look like it was built that way, and that's important. Okay, and then we've got these interesting doorways that are kind of Greco-Roman. We wanted them to be a little bit nondescript, so it didn't matter to us that this was not necessarily architecturally accurate to the period, but it did match our columns. So we've got these little capitals that are just made out of EVA foam and foam rope. And I'll show you a little bit more of how we made those things. This is PVC, and it's the cheap PVC. It's drainage thickness, so you know it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. And then this is just a box made out of 3/4 inch plywood, and then we face it with masonite so that it looks smooth. And then this is just a box also made out of plywood, and then we used crown molding, commercially available crown molding that we could put on the top. Man, you dress that up and you paint it right, and it looks ancient. And again, as always in theater, this is the side that the audience sees. The audience doesn't see this, so why face it? Why even paint it? And then I'm just showing you here that this is just 3/4 inch plywood clad with 1/8 inch masonite for what the audience sees. That gives a nice smooth surface to paint on. And then this is just a 1x8 box, and this is EVA foam. And this is foam rope. You can see that this is cushy. Okay, quick sidebar on how I make the bases and the capitals for the PVC columns. I take the same kind of PVC. Again, this is drainage PVC, so it's very thin, very flexible, pliable stuff. I want to basically cut a gap into, I cut whatever height that I want. I think this is 3 inches. And I cut, I don't know, a small gap, and that can depend on however thickness it takes to be able to put it onto the side of this. So now obviously this is flexible. It can come on and off of this PVC like that, okay? This is what EVA foam is. This is EVA foam right here. EVA foam is, you can get this at your local hobby center, and it comes in big rolls. I don't have a big roll in front of me right here, but this is a schnibble that I cut off. I glue this onto my PVC piece, which is also flexible. And then this is caulk backing or foam rope. It looks like this, caulk saver. But it's, what do they say, polyfoam backer rod. Anyways, you can get that at your home center too. So if I make this and then put this on top of there, now all of a sudden it looks architectural, even though the whole thing is flexible. So now, once I have that whole thing glued together, like I guess mine kind of looked like a cake, I can now just slip that whole thing onto my column, like so, and all of this will bend along with the PVC. That was probably more explanation than you needed. But anyways, the nice thing about that is I've got 12 of those now because I got 6 columns, so I got one for each top and one for each bottom, and I can keep those. So whenever I make columns out of PVC, I'll have these. So boom, you know, instant Greco-Roman doorway. Okay, so for this show, we do have people entering from the aisles, and so this was just a feature that we have. We've taken out a few seats in our front row, and we've made a bump. We call this a bump. This is just another little acting space because we've stolen some real estate with the pool, and so we want some acting to be able to happen still in front of the audience. That it just gives people a little bit of space to act. And so right here in the front gives us that. So we call that a bump. Okay, then how do you make something that looks like an architectural Greek rock wall? So this is pretty simple. And basically what most people don't know is you can get this rock wall looking panel at your home store, but it never looks good by itself. Okay, so here it is. And this is basically just a Masonite product, and these come in 4x8 sheets. But you can paint it, you know, you can, for different shows, we've just painted the grout. And so what we did is we put that stuff up, but here's what I hate. I don't like seeing seams where there shouldn't naturally be seams, and I feel like audiences pick up on that and they go, oh, they just got that at Home Depot or Lloyd's or Menards or wherever. And no, I want it to look like, you know, something special. And so with our rock wall, when we have seams, so like here's a seam, we disguise them by taking, I had students just cut out these spots. So like on this rock wall stuff, I just had them cut out these, which are just the rock wall pieces. And basically, you know, they're sort of brick shaped, but then these can go wherever. I can cover the seams. So that's what these raised pieces are meant to do. These raised pieces basically are to hide the seams, which to me destroy the illusion. And then we painted the whole thing brown, a dark brown. And then we have sort of a mid-tan that we had people paint, trying to keep some of that brown visible. You want the base coat to come through. So all of the grout, all of the stuff between the rocks is the brown. And then we just take a foam brush. I think foam brushes, weirdly, I'm almost surprised I'm saying this because I hate foam brushes, but foam brushes really do pick up the texture really well. I like the way those work better than bristle brushes. There, I said it. You know, once these things are up, this is the brown that everything was painted. So this is just a dark brown. And then we got the mid tan and then my highlight tan, which is, you know, just brighter yet. And you can just sort of see with that brush, with that foam brush, what it does here, you know. You're just going lightly over it. And since these things are already kind of textured, it just sort of is a quick job. It's not as daunting as it seems. But then I put a highlight stroke on the top of many of the bricks. Where there is a natural shadow, like under this brick, I just don't paint it. I keep it brown. So that's how you make a convincing rock wall. You know, it's to me, I think it's worth going the extra mile to give the audience something that looks better than your home center's rock wall panel. And then, of course, if you have access to actual rocks, this helps sell it. I really do believe in stage dressing. Looks like these rocks could have just fallen out from the top. Oh, and yeah, by the way, we cut this rock wall, this rock panel, to just look jaggy, you know, in the design. By the way, I do my design in SketchUp by Trimble. I guess it used to be a Google product, but now it's by Trimble. And so you can you know, make all these jaggy rock formations in your actual model. Mine was a digital model. And then, you just cut them out with a jigsaw. And that is how we designed a set for a Greek tragedy. This Greek tragedy was Antigone by Sophocles. Hey, I hope that this was useful. I hope that some of you out there found this helpful. If you did, would you consider giving this video a thumbs up? It would be great for other people to be able to see this. Until next time, my name is Pete. You're watching It's a Creative Life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.